Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Finally, the Russian slackers updated their site, and I can use also their article to provide you with an update of the Ukrainian front. In the past two occasions, I used only the Ukrainian side of the story to update you on the general status of the front. Now, the Russians, I guess, updated it, so now I'm going to use the Ukrainians and the Russians. So I will lie to you from both sides, okay? Basically. Now I'm just going to read to you and analyze whatever information they want us to have. So this, I'm going to start with the Ukrainian article, which is, whoopsie, no, I'm okay, I'm safe, everything okay. The New Voice of Ukraine, April 11th, 2023. Ukraine downs Russian Mi-24 helicopter and 9 drones in the past day. The enemy conducted 39 air and 7 missile strikes in the past 24 hours. 4 out of 7 missile strikes were carried out with missiles from the S-300 system on the city of Kramatorsk, far from the front line in Donetsk Oblast. So this is the Ukrainian update that has all the axes here listed, and this is how the Russian one looks. So this is, they have it in a different way. They have bubbles. The red bubble is where the Russians hit targets, Ukrainian targets. The blue ones are where the Ukrainians hit Russian targets. The yellow ones is where the Russians downed Ukrainian drones or aircraft, helicopters, whatever they might be. And the black dots here, these are where they in fact meet one another, shake hands, and then shoot at one another. This is where the face-to-face actually occurs. So the Ukrainians usually start in talking about Chernihiv, Sumy Oblast, Kharkov or Kharkiv Oblast, then go down into Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporozhye, then Kherson, and then they give you an overview, which usually tell us that the Russians kill only civilians. And the same thing, the Russians. If I put on this on Plekhovo, I guarantee you there's going to be a village bombarded and victims or a house will be hit. So let's see if I was right. Kursk governor Bababa said that the UAF had shelled the village. Around 650 people were left without electricity in the village of Gornal and Guevo Bababab district. So this is, that's why I said at the beginning of this video that I'm going to provide you with the true state of the Ukrainian front. So let's go back to the Ukrainians. Russia also launched 47 attacks with multiple launch rocket systems on Ukrainian positions and settlements. Despite heavy losses of equipment and manpower, the enemy is still trying to seize more territory. It focuses its assault attempts in and around Lyman, Bakhmut, Avdiyivka, and Mariyinka in Donetsk Oblast. Ukrainian forces repelled 52 enemy attacks in these areas over the past day alone. So they obviously, the Russians are trying to conduct their offensive in Lyman, Bakhmut, Avdiivka-Marinka, and in Donetsk Oblast, which is right here, this area right here. We have Artemovsk, which is Bakhmut for the Ukrainian, Artemovsk for the Russians. This is Avdiivka, this is Marinka, and Lyman is somewhere north here. Now, they don't go by the same names, okay? So, as I showed here, Artemovsk is Bakhmut for the Ukrainians. Now, what I'm concerned here is not really what happens in here, but what happens right here. So let's see what the Russians are saying. The Russian Defense Ministry reported that the assaulted detachments of Wagner private military company continue to fight to capture quarters in the city center and push the enemy to the western outskirts. The assault squads are supported by units of the airborne forces. It was the governor, but not this one. This is the defense minister. Governor Pushilin said that the Russians supposedly took over 75% of the entire city here. Now, and he was walking through the city and he was interviewed or whatever. It was a video with him doing so. So let's see what. In the Volyn, Polisia, Siversky and Slabozansky area, the operational situation remains unchanged. Russia continues to deploy its troops in Belarus. So they're talking about, let's go back here, to the north part of the conflict. So this area right here, and this is Belarus. So nothing here. They're gonna go now here, this way, the Ukrainians. And it says that the enemy remains present in the areas bordering Ukraine in Russia's Kursk and Belgorod Oblast and is reinforcing the area. Belgorod and Kursk are right here. Belgorod, this is Kursk, right, and this is Belgorod. So talk about this area. So let's go back to the Ukrainians here. It says over the past 24 hours, Russia shelled the settlements of 2 in Chernihiv Oblast, as I said, in North Sumy Oblast, and then in Kharkiv Oblast. So the Russians shelled this area right here, but I don't see anything on this map, right here. So Kharkiv, Sumy, Chernihiv. The Russians did not report anything, but only these two things that are forces of the Zapad group struck UAF units supported by aviation and artillery, and here the same thing. All right, let's go back to the Ukrainians. In the Lyman area, the enemy conducted unsuccessful offensive near Makiyivka, Chervonopopivka and Bilohorivka. The settlements of Novoyehorivka, Mariyinka, Nevske and Bilohorivka in Luhansk Oblast, as well as Torske, Spirnie and Berestove in Donetsk Oblast came under artillery fire. So I talked about this area right here. In the Bakhmut area, Russian troops have continued its offensive for more than 8 months. This is what I just read about Artemovsk, trying to capture the city of Bakhmut. Its defense is ongoing. Defense, what the hell are you defending? Just apartment buildings and no more people, nothing. Oh, well, you kill one another and you practice, I guess. It's like a live polygon, or how do you call it, a training site, basically. What are you defending? It's a destroyed city. They also tried to attack near Hrihorivka and Kromove in the past day without success. The settlements of 1, 2, 3, 4, Bakhmut, Kromove, Ivanivske, Shasir Yar, ones that I know, New York, in Donetsk Oblast were hit by Russian shelling. They're talking about areas around Artemovsk, Bakhmut, this one right here, because I know Ivanivske and Shasir is right here, this area right here. So they probably do it around so they can go and eventually encircle the guys in Bakhmut. In the Avdiyivka and Marinka sections of the front, so we move south from Bakhmut, the enemy conducted unsuccessful actions near the settlements of Avdiivka, Sieverne, Nevelske and Mariyinka in Donetsk Oblast. Fierce fighting is continuing in Avdiivka and Marinka. Meanwhile, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in Donetsk Oblast came under Russian fire. So let's read what the Russians are saying over there. So we're going to move into Avdiivka. So this is Artemovsk, Bakhmut, to go to Avdiivka. Fighting is ongoing on the outskirts of the city. As a result of a bomber airstrike, a UAF temporarily deployment post was destroyed. The UAF lost more than 40 people. Okay, that's Avdiivka. Let's go to Marinka. Fighting is ongoing. DPR acting head Denis Pushilin said that Russian forces held a tire repair plant in Mariyinka where there was a UAF stronghold. Air defenses shot down a drone. Probably they hit. And all this here are Ukrainian shelling of Russian targets. So let's see what this seems deeper. So no, it seems it is. Ukrainian forces fired 2 MLRS rockets at the city. Let's see this one. Ukrainian forces shelled Kievsky, Kubishevsky and Petrovsky districts. 53 shells were fired at the city. Ukrainian forces fired 6 shells. So this shelling, let's see what Russian forces destroyed an artillery ammunition depot of Ukraine's 110th Mechanized Brigade. And these Forces of the Vostok Group stock UAF units supported by artillery and aviation. I think that's all what it is with this. The same thing here. Let's go here. Russian forces destroy a tank. Jesus Christ. And 2 UAF mortar crews. You say about a tank now? I mean, how lame that is. I have about 3,000 tanks or something. Just kidding. It's just a tank. What about a soldier? The soldier was killed. That tells you the level. In the Shakhtarsk area, no offensive actions were conducted over the past day. The settlements of Vuhledar, Novomikhailivka, blah blah blah, tralala, in Donetsk Oblast came under Russian fire. So they're talking about this area here. Here is Ugledar or Vuhledar by the Russians. We're going to move to Zaporozhye, which is 2 things. Let's say by the Russians. Ukrainian troops shelled the city from HIMARS MLRS. 2 people were injured. A residential building was damaged. And let's see what the Russians did here. The Russian military identified and destroyed the targeting radar over Ukrainian S-300 air defense system. Let's see what the Ukrainians are saying. In Zaporozhye and Kherson section of the front, Russian troops are defending their position and shelling settlements close to the front line. In particular, Vremivka in Donetsk Oblast and Novodanilivka, Orkihiv, Novoandrivka and Kamyanske in Zaporozhye Oblast. So, and then here usually they start talking about how bad the Russians are, and they tell us how many homes, how many people they killed, and then we go back to this. Ukrainian aircraft performed 8 strikes on the areas of occupiers' personnel and equipment concentration, as well as on a multiple rocket launcher. A Russian MiG-24 helicopter and 9 UAVs of various types were shot down over the past day. Ukrainian missiles and artillery forces also hit a concentration of personnel and equipment and an ammunition depot. Let's see what the Russians are reporting at the bottom here in Kherson Oblast. Not like that, like this. Kherson Oblast. This is the city of Kherson. The blue ones are the Ukrainian attacks. Let's see how many drones the Russians hit. Air defenses shot down several Ukrainian drones. Ukrainian Fury drone was disabled by means of electronic warfare. Is that AK-47? Is that the electronic warfare unit? Several drones were disabled by means of electronic warfare. AK-47s. Ukrainian forces fired 7 shells at the city using barrel artillery. Several drones were disabled by means of electronic warfare. Let's see what the Russians did. Russian artillery destroyed a Grad MLRS with ammunition. 3 UAF servicemen were killed. And here, the Russian military destroyed a 2S-1 Gvozdila howitzer. There are casualties among the enemy. Here, Russian artillery destroyed a 120mm mortar with ammunition and crew. 4 UAV servicemen were killed. And 4 UAVs killed, 3 others were injured. And see what is in this corner. I like this corner. Ukrainian forces fired 8 shells at the village using barrel artillery. And the last one here, I'm going to use the Russian military destroys a 2S-1 Godzilla howitzer. There are casualties among the enemy. So finally, the Russians woke up and updated their little thing here. The Ukrainians have been a little bit more gregarious in doing that, and they've been updating 2 times a day. They update one time in the morning at about 7 a.m. Kiev time, and then the other one it's about 1800, 6 p.m. or 1900, which is 7 p.m. That's when they usually update the second time. So this is a little update. Not much happening over there. I covered a report or the leaked intel from the Pentagon stating that the Ukrainians will run out of air defense ammunition in 2 days for some, and in about 2 weeks for their S-300s. That means this week they will be like done, and the Russians are starting their engines to start bombing Ukraine. According to that intel. Now, is it true? I don't know. I'm just reporting here, and they can tell us whatever they want, and we can really verify that because we could not trust the other side either. Because obviously they will give us whatever they want, and that's the way it is. So thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just, my friends.